I've actually had a lot of people push me towards the bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to do everything. I want to experience everything. I don't want to close.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
I love doing interviews on the beach because it's like there's no like proper way to start.
Yep.
But it's your first time, right?
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah,
Like,
it is very nice.
yeah, very relaxed too. It's like be more interesting for people to watch as well.
Yeah, for sure. So you're out in Phuket. It's not your first trip, but your
No.
first time here.
Yeah, first time here. Yeah.
In Bangkok.
Yep. I trained with Frankie and George back at Tiger. It was like 2018. So, yeah, I've been meaning to make it back over here. And when they opened up their gym, I was like, got to go check it out. So.
How do you know like the boys? Like, how do you know George and Frank? Is it through the connection with like Joe Lopez and all of them?
Well, originally it was back when I was training at Lions. Sean Sullivan, my coach back then, I came over here with him, and that's how I was initially introduced to Frank and George. And then, over the next few years, obviously he works closely with Alex and at Freestyle, and then also the boys at CKB. So I was lucky enough to get some work in with Frank when I was in New Zealand last year. So yeah, crossed paths over the years, but yeah, finally here training at his gym now, so it's good.
Nice. How's your trip been? You've been here for about a week and a half, maybe?
Yeah. It's been awesome. The first week, so last week, the humidity hit me hard. Everyone actually warned me about it, but yeah, so I was just doubling up on the electrolytes and everything. But yeah, I actually spent 2 days at the beginning of this week in bed, struck down with the flu, so it's the sickest I've been since COVID 4 years ago, and I was starting to think, was it COVID? But no, it's just a bad flu. Obviously my immune system had hit quite a low, and stuck in bed. But yeah, no, I'm back now and back to training.
Back to normal, right? And is it like a traincation or is it like a beginning of a camp? What is the situation for you right
this
now?
feels so good to say, but the beginning of camp.
All right.
So yeah, talk about throwing myself in the deep end. But first 2 weeks, this is just to get me back into things. Like obviously, I train all year round, but this is obviously fight camp's different to training outside of fight camp. So I have a long camp ahead of me, so it's not a short notice fight or anything. So I've got good preparation time. So easing myself back into a full training load and getting fit again.
Late last year there was a lot of that uncertainty going on with Bellator.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get your perspective on not really knowing what was going to happen for I think a few months. A lot of the fighters were telling me like for a few months it was just like the communication wasn't very good. And
well, it was the unknown. And I guess for me, because I had my last fight was in April, and then I had surgery on my knee, and I was coming back, getting ready to fight again, and that's when all the uncertainty happened. And it's sort of like, at my stage of my career, I don't have time to be sitting around waiting, and it was a bit frustrating. And I'm sort of like, do I move on to the next stage of what life has for me, or and obviously I'm in my heart I'm not ready to do that just yet. So I did show a lot of respect towards the Bellator crew too, because it was sort of like, you could be constantly harassing them, like what's happening, but on the other end of things too, they didn't know what was happening. The Bellator staff, they weren't sure what was happening with their careers, so it was kind of like, and I was sort of putting myself in their shoes as well. So it wasn't just the fighters that was up in the air, it was these people that's their livelihoods as well. So all I can say, it's nice now to know that we've got some direction. And what's happening with the future of Bellator and the merge and everything like that.
Yeah, it's nice to have the future clear, but there was still some casualties of the merger, right? I think Bellator had to release quite a few fighters.
Oh, for sure. I'm lucky that I'm sitting in a position where I am one of the higher ranked fighters, but it was an uncertain time for me too, because I'd also, after the fight with Chris in 2022, I'd signed like my most lucrative contract with Bellator, and I was like, yes, I finally, after back then 13 years of fighting, it's all paid off. And then obviously when they spoke about the merger, I was like, oh, what does that mean for my contract? And it's all questions have been answered now. So I'm booked and I'm ready to go. So
Nice. It seemed like when Mike Kogan got hired by PFL.
that's
like a lot of security, for some of the fighters because they talk to him mostly, right?
Well they do, and he has a big say with everything that goes on. There's a few people that I know have been kept on. Obviously, once I'm over there for my fight, I'll be able to sort of know more in depth who's sort of staying and what's happening in that. But he's a very, very valuable employee with the Bellator crew, so it's good that he gets to continue on with his work, and I have a good relationship with him too, so that means good things for me, I guess. And I mean, at the end of the day, all I have to do is perform inside the cage, continue being dominant, get back in the win column, and obviously that'll speak volumes for itself anyway.
When the merger was going on, the big talk was, especially for the women's divisions, is Kayla Harrison coming over and combining, and you guys having the opportunity to maybe face off with her, and then out of nowhere, like unexpectedly, she signs with the UFC. Right? Were you kind of disappointed? Because that's a person that you would probably end up really wanting to fight, right?
You know what? I'm not one to sort of comment on anyone's career or decisions or whatever. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. If obviously signing with the UFC is what she wanted to do with her career, and obviously they've, I'm guessing it would have been a lucrative deal for her because she was getting looked after with PFL, so I can only imagine what the figures must have been getting thrown around. But good on her. I'm excited because my girl Holly's going to fight her, so that's an exciting fight. And there's still other bigger fights, obviously Chris and the potential fight with Larissa Pachicho, that's a big fight too. So, the merge between Bellator and PFL is exciting for me because there are so many more girls at featherweight, and eventually if I do go up to lightweight, not that I intend to, but, there's a lot more girls on the scene, so that just means more fights for me.
Yeah, and that extra 10 pounds.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't plan on putting 10 pounds on. I'm trying to lose. If anything, I'd go to bantamweight. So,
really?
That was always earlier on. We were looking at, potentially obviously going over to the UFC. I think that was after my first contract with Bellator. Realistically, I am a bantamweight fighter, especially, being around other bantamweights and what they walk around at. I'm a bit more truer featherweight these days. I have a couple of extra kilos on me, but I can cut to bantamweight, and I'm quite strong and fast and powerful at that weight. But featherweight's good for me now.
Well, you train with one of the greatest bantamweights in history, Holly Holm, and right now she's getting ready for Kayla Harrison. What do you think of that matchup?
Oh, I love it. I mean, obviously I've done a lot of work at Jackson Wink, and I know how the team prepares and stuff, and they break down fights and prepare for every fighter that she fights, and I know how Holly trains, and I'm excited for it. I was super bummed. I wish I was sort of over there, with her, and obviously Chris is over there at the moment training, and I was messaged and asked to join them, but I'd already committed to coming here, which obviously this is great too. I'm not disappointed that I'm here in Thailand training at all, but it's obviously to be part of that fight camp with her and to help her because she's helped me so much in my fights and preparation as well. But I'm excited for her. Holly's one tough girl.
Tough, and she uses
relentless.
A lot of strategy.
Yeah.
In preparation, and you see that in her performances. I think that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to see play out.
Yeah.
It's what kind of strategy does Holly Holm have for Kayla Harrison?
Yeah. No, I just hopefully camp's going great for her, and she goes in there with all the confidence in the world. She's shocked the world, as we've seen it. Heard about it over and over the years, and it'll be awesome for her to do it all over again.
Yeah, and speaking of Holly Holm, of course, she's the one that ended up knocking out Ronda Rousey and winning the title and just becoming a massive star.
Yeah.
And recently, Ronda Rousey, I think just today,
the
she
concussion.
had a post, and she's talking about the concussions that she suffered in judo, and she kind of kept that a secret. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense why she, retired so quickly after losing the title, right?
100%. It's health first, always, and you know, I've had a couple of concussions over the years, and as I get older, it's something I definitely play a lot safer with. You know, jumping into sparring sessions and not warmed up properly without headgear and hard rounds and this and that. But, you know, as you get older, you sort of realise that, you know, I want to be stringing a sentence together when I'm older. I want to be able to remember my kids' names and this and that. But, you know, it's good that she came out and she did, you know, say that. And, you know what, towards the end of her UFC career, she was taking, you know, some damage to the head too. You know, that fight with Amanda was brutal. So, yeah, no, it was good that she was smart and, you know, put herself first.
What's the worst experience you've had with concussions?
Well, talking about Holly, it was the first time I was actually over at Jackson Wink it was literally 2 months after she beat Ronda. So, you know, I copped the exact same head kick and it was wrapped straight around my neck. And, yeah, I'd never actually experienced or was aware, of what concussion was or like the signs of it. But yeah, just the trouble with bright lights, you know, the headaches, even like I went into a slight depression, couldn't sleep properly. Yeah, just so many signs. But I definitely think there should be more talk about, you know, the signs of concussion, because by then I think I'd already been fighting for like 6 or 7 years. And then, yeah, another time Holly kicked me again and had ringing in my ear, and yeah, that was another concussion. But yeah, so my dear friend has concussed me twice now. But yeah, no, I've had several of them. Yeah, so that's again probably why, you know, in my older years now, I'm being very careful. Because I don't want too many more.
Yeah, of course, you don't want too many more, but it's part of the game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think proper protocol afterwards is so important.
For sure.
Because there's a lot of fighters, you know, fighters are stubborn.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm tough enough to get through this on my own, but really you need medical attention sometimes.
It was actually, you know, one of the fighters from Freestyle, Colby. Yeah, he suffered a concussion and he went through all the protocols and dealt with it properly. And for a young fighter, I mean, you know, he's in his early 20s. You know, you're eager at that age, and I gave him a lot of props for, you know, looking after his health first and prolonging his career too, because that's doing stuff like that and looking after your body will prolong your career. So not your body, your head, and your life too. So no, it was good for a young man to take that upon himself and look after himself and the team too, I guess.
The team is important.
Yeah.
They're the ones that would, if he's stubborn, they would push him to go and you know, get it fixed and take his time off and stuff like that. But yes, you know, that to me it was kind of, you know, shocking. But nowadays I feel like fighters are more revealing about certain things, like the mental side of the sport and you know, and preparations and injuries and I was surprised how many fighters get sick during fight week.
Oh yeah, it's a thing. Yeah, you've got to look after yourself like properly, even like staph infections. But yeah, I think it's, you know, I'm not sure who it was that initially opened up the door with opening up to their feelings and emotions and explaining things. But it's great because I even remember from my own personal experience for years, it was only up until I started training with Holly and, you know, we started opening up to each other. I was like, oh my God, all these feelings I felt are normal, or this experience is normal. And yeah, as fighters, we all pretty much experience the same thing. We all go through the same mental issues. We go through the same ups and downs in camp, but it's nice to hear from other fighters that they also go through it. And that's why I'm always such a big advocate speaking to up-and-coming fighters, especially females, letting them know that, you know what, their feeling's normal and that I felt it. Because I remember, like, when Holly told me, I thought to myself, oh my God, like, this is Holly Holm, like, you know, the amazing Holly Holm, and she dealt with this, or she felt this, or so it was really cool that she opened up to me, and that's why I always open up to other.
Here, Sarah Collins is here, but she told me that she didn't even come with you. You guys just kind of ended up training together, and you guys are both top 10 in the division, right?
Yeah.
So have you always known Sarah?
This is actually the first time I've met Sarah in person. But obviously, as soon as, you know, being Australian, you know, I support and follow all the Australian fighters up and coming and that. And then I think I was one of the first people that congratulated her when she got signed with Bellator, because, I mean, there's not many of us, and, you know, not many of us Australians too that have hit the international platform. So I'm going to support and back all of us. She's been a great training partner for me while I've been here. we've both got strengths in completely opposite ends of the ballpark. So it's been really good to help each other with that and just, have like a good training camp. She's here for a fight camp too, a long fight camp. So without giving any details of who we're fighting or when we're fighting, but it's cool because we're in the same stage of camp together and over here in another country, and she's been great.
What's the plan after you leave here?
I'll head back home. I've got 4 weeks at home, so I'm going to be training. I'll be focusing on my ground game at Sydney West Mixed Martial Arts, which I'm lucky enough to see in Penrith, but I'll also be travelling down to freestyle, so I'll get to go see Joe and the boys, and so I'll be 4 weeks there, and then I'll head back over to America.
Okay, and finish up your camp.
Yeah, so without giving timelines away, the next stage of my camp will, so the final block of it will be over at Jackson Wink.
Gotta be secretive to a point, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's been announced.
But and then do my camp at Jackson Wink with the team, and
Yeah, you found the formula. Now with your last couple of fights, you're on the wrong end of decisions.
Yeah.
And and then you looked at. Are you a type of person that goes back and watches their performances and like really dissects everything, or do you kind of just push that away and then focus on the future?
I haven't even watched my fight with Chris. But I did watch the fight with Sarah. That actually took a little while for me to be able to watch, just because that one hurt. Yeah. That was a loss that I shouldn't have taken. I don't really go back and just dissect my performances as much. I do take note of the things that I sort of noticed in there. How I felt, or things that I should have done better or worked on or whatever. But apart from that, the past is in the past. Every camp you're growing and evolving and working on everything anyway. So,
just move on. You know? Going back to the boys, Tyson Pedro retires. That was pretty shocking, no? Or you knew something. You knew something, right? I know.
All I can say is that he backs himself, and I love being around people that back themselves. I was actually only having a conversation with another former UFC fighter this morning, and we were just, the UFC is like the be all, like everyone just aims to be in the UFC, and then you kind of get there and you realise that it's kind of not the end goal, unless you are one of the superstars and making a lot of money with them. But Tyson's got the opportunity to make some good money in the boxing world. He's a very good boxer. I've seen him do a lot of rounds of boxing, and he's got solid hands. So he's got a big future ahead. So, and
he's a model. And he was. I saw something about him being on
Gladiators. Yeah. And then. What was he, model in the Men's Health magazine? He's the man of many talents.
He does.
But I'm excited for him. And backing yourself, and that's what life's about, is backing yourself. Even for me, looking at my career, 10 years ago, I was a boxer and I wanted to pursue MMA, and if I didn't back myself then, everyone was telling me you got to stay with boxing, especially at 30 years old. I wouldn't have done any of this sort of stuff. Even now, I've got, on the opposite end of the scales, I've got people telling me I need to retire, I'm getting too old, but I'm on the mats with people half my age now and I'm still holding my own. I'm good. Yeah. I'm backing myself, And
if you're training with men and handling yourself, you're good, right?
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, unless they start wrestling me, but anyway.
But is that something that you really look at right now? At 40 years old, do you look at boxing and say hey, there is opportunity, especially with your style that you have? Yeah,
it was interesting. I literally just committed to a boxing fight. So, like I said, my last fight was in April, had knee surgery. August last year, I flew over to New Zealand because I thought I was going to start a mini camp. It was a first 2-week sort of trial after my knee surgery to make sure I could do camp. And then there was this long time of just waiting, the uncertainty with Bellator and PFL. And I was at 40 years old, I don't just want to be sitting here. I want to be fighting. And, my head needed to fight. I needed to, have something to concentrate on. So I committed to a boxing fight for the Australian boxing title, which is a goal of mine that I want that Australian title. I've got world titles and that, but it's just as an Australian, you want that title. That should always be a goal. Committed to it. Committed to the fact that I was going to be taking a very big pay cut compared to what I get paid in MMA. But I was excited. I was happy about it. And then the very next day, I got news that I had a Bellator fight. So I was like, So I had to message a promoter back. I'm like, listen, I'm so sorry. We'll touch base on this. So yeah, I haven't closed the door on my boxing. I've actually had a lot of people push me towards the bare knuckle boxing. Yeah. So yeah, I want to do everything. I want to experience everything. I don't want to close the door. I'll see. It's just honestly though, one fight camp at a time. I'm excited about this one. We'll get this win, get back in the win column, and then go from there.
Without revealing, the details of the upcoming fight, what does this fight mean to you? Like, win or lose, does it have a significance? There's no lose. So what does it mean to you? What's the stipulations you think for this fight?
I'm just excited for this one because, lately, like when you were saying, there's been, a lot of fighters talking about, their personal things, mental sides of things. And obviously everyone knows how Alex opened up recently and that. And there's even, it comes to mind now because Jimmy Crute's here training as well. Like he opened up after his fight. That's all stuff that I had been feeling since my last fight in April. Actually, even before that fight, like I just been struggling with a lot of stuff. Not so much personally, but just, it's such a roller coaster. It really is. So for me to sort of pull myself back out of that and find happiness with it all again and have a goal and know that it's not all over yet, the win will mean everything. But at the moment, I'm also just taking the fact like one training session at a time, one day at a time, and enjoying this whole process because, I won't be doing this too much longer, realistically. I'm definitely at the end of my career as opposed to the beginning. I'm not announcing retirement or anything, but as my partners said to me over and over, like, you need to enjoy this because you aren't going to get too many more camps. Like, look at me now. I'm here in Thailand. Last year I was in camp at CKB in New Zealand. I'll be heading over to America. I'm living the dream, as Coach Wink says. So a win will be good, though, because this whole back-to-back losses on Bellator, it's not rubbing me very well at all. I don't like that at all.
This could be a very emotional, fight for you.
Well, unfortunately, I think I've cried more inside the Bellator cage than anyone. And it's on wins too, because I probably will, because there's a lot of I don't know if you remember the fight with Amber Leibrock when I did the Rampage Jackson Slam for the win. I got that win and then like broke down in the cage, and everyone's probably thinking, what's she crying for? But a similar thing, I'd actually that was in 2018, the end of 2017 when I first fought Julia Budd for the title. I was actually retiring after that fight, so I was planning on retiring, and then I sort of was very lucky that my partner had said to me, like, just hold on to it, don't do anything just drastic, because once you retire, especially at your age, it's hard to come back. Like, just see how you go. And I happened to take a boxing fight just to see if I still had it in me and that. And it took me to break my hand during that fight, and then obviously after the fight, being in a cast. Then I don't know what clicked inside my head, but then I started fight camp, and that was actually when I came here to Thailand and trained at Tiger Muay Thai and revamped my whole career and actually did wonders from that. This probably will be an emotional moment again when I win, and no one will probably understand why unless they've watched this interview.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you cry.
Yeah.
Let's just say that in a positive way, right?
And I'm not a pretty crier either. It's terrible.
Well, the best criers are not the prettiest, right? Well, thank you, Arlene, so much for taking the time, and enjoy the rest of your time here, and all the best in the rest of this camp as well. You got a little traveling to do, but it's all worth it at the end.
100%. Seeing the world, doing what I love.